Hey guys, it's Rob again, back with another video. First off, I just want to say this will probably be the last video that I will be doing from my cell phone. I just recently got a GoPro Hero 13 Black Creator Edition from Best Buy. My wife and I were out doing a little bit of running yesterday. We took our dogs up to the beach up in St. Joseph, Michigan, which is about 45 minutes from us. Just to walk them around and everything, and it's just so beautiful up there. And we took the camera with us, but I didn't have a chance to get the camera fully set up. Before the day's over today, I'm hoping to get that done. It doesn't really take that long, but this will wind up being my last video that I'll be doing from this phone. So just wanted to go over a couple things in this video. Number one, and I might have touched on this in a previous video, but I just wanted to give my absolute final thoughts on this low-cost paint booth that I set up a few weeks ago, and wanted to give my thoughts going forward of how we're going to do future paint projects in this garage without this being a heated garage. Now, as far as doing the painting inside the booth, and I'm going to apologize up front, it is kind of messy in this booth. The only reason it is messy in this booth is because I had a little bit of an issue a few days ago. We were having a really bad day that day. And as if anybody's been following the channel, I'm in the middle of trying to finish a Telecaster project using Createx paints. Just everything with that project within this has been a 3-year struggle, and I've touched on this in previous videos, and a lot of guys are probably sitting back laughing right now saying, oh my gosh, it's taken you 3 years to finish a guitar project. Are you kidding me? Well, number one, you don't know what people are dealing with in their personal life, number one. Number two, if people are going to give their input on things, then maybe do a little bit of research, do a little bit of investigating to try to find out what somebody has been dealing with in their personal life. And three, some of us don't have the luxury of staying at home and having YouTube and TikTok and all these other media outlets as their single form of income. Some of us actually have to work a regular job, and some of us work a graveyard shift, and we don't have a lot of time during the day. So I'm not trying to sound like an asshole, but I see a lot of guys, they show you the final project, they show you the finished product, but they don't tell you in the video what all they've had to deal with. I will be straight up and honest with you. I will tell you what I've had to deal with. I've had to deal with family issues. I have a mother battling dementia right now. I have a mother-in-law who's has her own medical problems going on right now. My wife and I, we've been dealing with my stepdaughter who was in a traumatic motorcycle accident almost 2 years ago now. We're dealing with a brain injury. We're dealing with a lot, and I'm not, it's not sour grapes. I'm not looking for a pity party act. I'm just letting you know straight up, what all we've been having to deal with. So the simple fact that I even have the opportunity to have a little bit of time to myself to even work on a project in general is such a blessing from God. But I didn't mean to get a bit on a big long ramble there and get on a big giant rant. It's just like I said, the last couple of years has been a lot. We've been dealing with financial issues. My wife lost her job 2 years ago. Not really, can't really go into no big long detail about that, and I'm sure nobody wants to hear it anyway. But just it's been a lot lately, and I know the good Lord's got everything under control. So you just got to keep moving forward and do what you got to do. As far as heating a garage, number one, I'm in a very small space here. This is the first time in my life I've only had a one-car garage. When my wife and I bought this house almost 5 years ago, we were kind of in a hurry to buy a home because we had to be out of our previous place within a certain amount of time. So we had to find a place quick, and this was like, at that time, this was like the best deal on the market because the real estate, the interest rates 5 years ago were pretty decent. And the problem is, when the interest rates were as good as they were 5 years ago, a lot of private investors were buying up property left and right. So we basically had to go with almost the first thing we could get our hands on. And like I said, the last two houses I had owned personally, they always had 2-car garages, always. And I had so much more freedom in that garage, those bigger garages, and I could do more, things out there. Well, I literally feel like I'm in a sardine can out here at times, and it gets to be a little bit much out here at times. And my wife wants to park our car in here, and it's like, wants to park her car in here, and right now we just can't because I have this booth up, and we really need to gut this garage out and redo the whole damn thing. But as far as heating a garage, I've looked into so many things. I've looked into every kind of heat source you can think of. At one point, I was looking into actually, running a gas line out here and actually having a furnace out here. Well, made some calls, and the price for doing that was ridiculous. And on top of that, our utility bills in this area have, for gas and electric, within the last 2 to 3 months, have freaking skyrocketed. And and it's just, and I'm really hoping President Trump is gonna get this situation under control. But it's ridiculous what these companies are putting hardworking people through. I mean, it's they think people have like all this backup money sitting around, to pay $500 utility bills. I mean, in this day and age, a lot of people don't have that kind of money. But I was looking into that. I was looking into having like a propane type of system out here, hanging on the wall by have like a 20,000 BTU unit. That honestly it could still be an option. Those usually go, anywhere from, $200 on up, depending on how many BTUs you get. And they usually run off of natural gas, or they run off of, or propane. So we've kicked that around. You have these new radiant heaters that you can hang from your ceiling. that supposedly they're not too bad on your electric bills. But like I said, our utility company has basically doubled our electric and gas within the last 2 to 3 months. So you get in a situation to where it's like when you're in such a small space like this, you got to come up with other things. Well, we're getting ready. We're going into springtime here, and I think honestly, the best thing that I'm going to wind up doing is wind up getting a forced air heating system. I'll probably just have it either sitting on the floor over here, away from this booth. Now, I will say this. The space heater in here has worked great. The problem with space heaters, they kill your utility bills. Now, I ran the space heater all day on the days I've done projects? No, of course not. But I've learned little tricks along the way with this booth that has made it so easy to heat the inside of the booth. I've been able, we struggled there for a little bit, with this Telecaster project. We were spraying this gray Autoborn sealer, and we thought we had it close to ideal conditions in the booth. Well, one thing led to another, and the gray primer sealer we were spraying wound up getting, when we brought it inside to get it in room temperature conditions, there wound up being some cracking in the sealer. But we've learned little things here and there. I made a statement in a previous video that the conditions outside of the booth as well is going to determine how well you can heat it on the inside. Well, I've learned little tricks here and there to get this booth exactly where you need it, as far as doing any kind of paint projects. But honestly, with this, forced air system that I'm gonna get on this forced air heater, it's probably gonna wind up running off of propane. But this thing, the system that I'm gonna get, it's like $55, but it can heat up to 1,100 square feet in no time flat. So that's probably going to be the economical or alternative we're going to go with for now. I don't know exactly when I'm going to get it. I'm not sure if we're going to wind up getting it, before spring. We may just keep dealing with the space heater inside the booth. I don't know. So that's an update as far as the kind of heat source we're going to use. Now, as far as this booth goes, I still have to finish up this Telecaster project. And like I said, I know it looks like it's a disaster inside the booth, but I'll tell you exactly what happened. We were having such a bad day a few days ago. Just was not in the right frame of mind. And what I've been doing is, when I go to do a few coats, whether it's sealer or whether it's base coat, I'll get the inside of the booth exactly where I need it as far as temperature and humidity. And then when it comes time to spray the coats, I'll raise the garage door up for just a couple of minutes, long enough to apply the coats, and I'll turn the box fan on. Well, we were so ticked off and having such a bad day and everything that we basically forgot to turn the box fan on, and we had the whole inside of the booth was just nothing but a gray cloud of sealer. I mean, it was ridiculous. And like I said, now I got a little bit of a mess in my hands in here, but it's really no big deal. Just like I said, we this last couple years we've been through it, and I've had so much on my mind, and we were having such a bad day that day, and I was trying to do something to calm my nerves, and we just wound up wasn't thinking right and forgot to turn the box fan on and had nothing but a mess. But luckily, it was just a water-based paint. It wasn't like a 2K clear or something. We just, yeah. So it looks like it's a disaster in here, but it's really not. I mean, it's like I said, it's water-based paint, and it cleans up really, really easy. So we'll probably wind up. We won't get to it today, I don't think. But as far as the booth goes, the booth has been fantastic. The booth has really been fantastic. So once I finish this project, I don't know if I'm going to tear this booth down right away. My wife really wants me to because, like I said, she wants to park the car in here, and I get that. But I'm looking into doing a Stratocaster project after this one, and honestly, if I'm going to do that within the next maybe 3 to 4 months, I'm not really sure it'd be too smart tearing this. I put a lot of work into this booth, guys. I put a lot of work into this booth. But some things that I would do differently going forward if I was to build a new spray booth. I think honestly, well, let me first say this: the dimensions of the booth are it's 6.5 feet tall by 5 feet wide by 6 foot long. I think if I was to build another booth out here in this garage, honestly, I think I would make the booth 7 feet long because I didn't, with it only being 5 feet wide, I don't want to say that I'm cramped in there because I'm only painting guitar bodies in this booth, but I honestly feel like I need a little bit more space, and I think having a 7 foot long booth would be a lot easier as far as space goes. I mean, it's still going to be just as easy to heat, because like I said, going forward, we're going to have a heated garage here pretty soon here, with that forced air system we're going to get. Now, in the front here, I did have an intake filter. It's just a regular cheap, furnace filter that cost me like a whole $3. The one thing I've learned with an intake filter, if you're trying to heat the inside of the booth, if you don't have a heated garage, the intake filter is actually going to hurt you instead of help you, because if you're going to have cold air coming in, then you're going to be fighting trying to get the paint booth to the right temperature and humidity. And I've learned, that's why there's all this duct tape, because honestly, it wasn't helping me having that intake filter. Now the filter does help inside the booth because it does help catch any particulates or any paint fumes. It does still help inside the booth. But if you do not have a heated garage, if you don't have fresh, warm air coming in, there's no way you're going to be able to heat the inside of the booth. There's just no way. So the next booth that I build, honestly, if I was to have an intake filter, I would probably put it either on the side here, on either side, or I'd put it just on the side of the booth altogether. One thing I also learned, if you're going to make a door, these, zipper walls, they work great. But honestly, I would use, going forward, I wouldn't even have this intake filter here. I would have this zipper taking up the whole height of the booth. And going forward, to make it easier on myself to get things in and out of the booth, like sawhorses and that air compressor right there, I would have one zipper wall here and then one zipper wall over here. That way I could just, if I wanted to, I could just roll the thing up and put it on top of the booth. Or they would just spread apart really easy. And I'd still have no problem getting stuff in and out of the booth. The only thing I really bring in and out of this booth are the sawhorses and the air compressor. Now, going to the back of the booth here, and I know this video is getting a little bit long, and I apologize, guys. We have the box fan with another filter behind it, blowing out the paint fumes and the particulates. Honestly, I think going forward down the line, if I don't decide to use a box fan, I might try to get some kind of blower system, or I could just hook a hose up and then pump the fumes out through the hose. And I could just, crack open the bottom of the garage door. So that'll probably be an option later on. But as far as the booth itself, it's been amazing. I am so glad. I mean, like I said, we've had to deal with some things as far as keeping it heated, but man, when the inside of this booth is all sealed up and everything, and that's another thing that I did. I use a spray sealer along these edges, and this thing is the plastic, it is airtight right now against these 2x4s. I mean, airtight. There is not there is like no air escaping out of this booth once the heater gets it up to the right temperature. And sealing up the 2x4s like that, it actually doesn't take that long to heat the inside of the booth either. So, but if I was to build another booth going forward, and I will, besides changing what I just mentioned, I would also get a little bit better grade lumber, because this is like the cheapest of the cheap. I struggled so much building this booth, and I thought building two walls and then bracing them together with 2x4s would be easy. Actually, that wound up being the biggest pain in the ass ever. So going forward, I would just build 4 individual walls. And as I said in a previous video, I'm actually kicking around possibly even, instead of maybe using plastic, maybe using drywall. But like I said, I didn't really build this kind of booth to be a permanent structure out here, because like I said, my wife and I have plans for this garage, and we can't really have this thing be a permanent structure. As much work as I put into this, it really was, besides dealing with warped lumber and cracking lumber, as far as putting the plastic up and everything, it really did not take that long at all. I cut like basically 2 long pieces, and I overlapped the roof of the paint booth, so I never ever have to worry about any kind of dust falling into the booth. No, that being said, when you are spraying in the booth, you're not in a professional booth, so you might get a little bit of nibs. But overall, though, having the box fan in there, pumping out all the particulates and stuff, I have found that I get a better quality paint job painting inside this booth than if I was to just paint outside here in my garage in general. So, but yeah, I know this has been an extremely long video. We're a little bit over 25 minutes right now, guys, but that's going to be it for this video. Like I said, this is more than likely going to be my last video, you know, using this cell phone. I'm using a Galaxy S24 Plus, and going forward, we'll be shooting these videos from our GoPro 13. But that's going to be it. I hope you all have a blessed day. Take care of yourself. Take care of others. We'll see you next time.